This video will show you another method of multiplying two numbers. It is called Russian multiplication, and it's based on a very simple idea. So basically this is what we have to do. We have two numbers that we are going to multiply together, and we are going to reduce it so that in the end we will end up adding numbers together to obtain the answer rather than multiplying them. And there are a few steps to follow. The first step, the first number that we use for multiplying, we divide each time by 2, and if there are any remainders we ignore them. And we keep doing that until the final number is a 1. The second number that we use in multiplying, we will double each time. So those two things are step 1. Step 2, we scan through our sequence of numbers and cross out any rows of numbers where the first number is even. And step 3, out of the numbers that remain in the last column that haven't been crossed out, we add together. And that final answer is the product of our two initial numbers. Now let's see how that works. Let's try one example to work out the product of 32 times 3. So we write 32 on the left, 3 on the right. We start by working out half of 32, which is 16, and doubling the 3, which is 6. So we halve each time on the left and double each time on the right. Half of 16 is 8. Double 6 gives us 12. Half of 8 is 4. Double the 12 is 24. Half of 4 is 2. Double 24 is 48. Half of 2 is 1. Double the 48, 96. So we stop here because we have a 1 on the left. The next stage is to go through each row and cross out each row whose first number is even. So here we have 32, that's even, cross that out. 16 is even, cross. 8 is even, cross out. 4, cross out. 2 is even, cross out. 1 is odd, so we leave that alone. Next stage, out of the numbers remaining here, the ones that are not crossed out, and there's only one, 96, will be our answer. So 32 times 3 is 96. Let's try another one. For this one, we're going to work out 29 times 4. So we start with an odd number, 29. Half of 29 is 14 and a half. In other words, 14 remainder 1. So we keep the 14 and ignore the 1. And we double the 4, which gives us 8. Half of 14 is 7. Double the 8 is 16. Half of 7 is 3 and a half. Keep the 3. Double the 16, which is 32. Half of 3 is 1 and a half, so we keep the 1. Double the 32, which is 64. Now we scan each row. First row, 29 is odd, so we leave that alone. 14 is even, so that can be crossed out. 7 is odd, leave it alone. 3 is odd, 1 is odd. So there's only one row that we crossed out. Out of the numbers that are remaining, 4, 16, 32 and 64, we add those together. And the sum will give us our answer. In this case, 116. So 29 times 4 is 116 using the Russian multiplication method. Now we come to the stage where we try to explain why does this method work. And we'll do that in a visual way with a straightforward example to begin with. Let's say we want to work out 8 times 2. That's the same as saying we have 8 lots of 2, as you can see there on the right. There's our 8 lots, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Now using the method, we're going to divide the 8 by 2 and we're going to double the 2. There we are, and that gives us 4 times 4. And we can represent that as 4 lots of 4, as you can see here on the right. We haven't changed the final answer because we started with 16 objects and we still have 16 objects. We've just rearranged them. Now we divide here by 4 and double the 4. And you can see what we have. We have now 2 lots of 8, which is here. Again, we haven't changed the final answer. It's just rearrangement. And next step, double by 2 and times 2. We have 1 times 16. And that's the same as saying 1 lot of 16. So when we have an even number each time on the left that we divide by 2 without a remainder, it's easy to understand what's happening. All we're doing is rearranging the number of objects. And that's why we have here for our final answer, when we cross out even numbers, do you see how in the method we're crossing out even numbered rows? So the first row would go, second row, third, and the only row that would be left would be the final row, which has an odd number to begin with, and our final answer would be 16. 7 times 2. So we have 7 times 2, which we can represent as 7 lots of 2 objects. Divide by 2 and times by 2. 7 divided by 2, 3.5, so we keep the 3, and here we double the 2, which is 4. So we write 3 times 4, and we can represent that as 3 lots of 4. But what's missing? We know we had 14 objects to begin with, so we need 2 objects, don't we? Let's put that in. There it is. I've added 2 objects here at the end. And I've added in red here that we need another 2 objects. Can you see what's happened? I've taken 2 objects from our initial representation and put them in. And the 2 that I've added here that we need in our answer is the same as the 2 that we started with. There it is there. Now let's continue. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. We put down the 1. And double the 4 is 8. And 1 times 8 is the same as saying 1 lot of 8. But what's missing? We need 14 in total, don't we? So we need 6 objects. There they are. We take 4 objects from, and that gives us our total of 6. Another way of writing it on the left, we had our plus 2 to begin with, and we need another 4. Can you see where these numbers are coming from? We know where the plus 2 is coming from. It came from here, didn't it? Where do you think the plus 4 comes from? There it is there. So do you notice something? The numbers that we add at the end, the plus 2 and the plus 4, the plus 2 came from here, and the number to begin with was odd. The plus 4 came from here, and the number to begin with was odd. Can you see what's happening? Why we keep the odd numbers in the end that we add together? They come from the rows that have an odd number to begin with. Whereas for the even numbers that we cross out, they're not counted because we don't need to make this allowance for adding. There we go. So 2 plus 4 plus 8 is what we need to give us our total of 14. So this is a nice visual way of showing you why the Russian multiplication method works. Try it for some of your own and you'll be impressed. With a bit of practice you can do it mentally and impress your friends. Thank you for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.